The last number here is the Enneagram 9. This is my number. The Enneagram 9, our core fear is tension and discord, being shut down, being overlooked, losing connection, in particular with close friends. Their core desire is inner stability, peace of mind. And what I would add there too is just that the stability and the peace of mind exists internally, but it also exists to the social relationships in which they exist. The core longing that they have is that their presence matters. Nines oftentimes don't want to create tension, create waves. They don't want to be looked down upon or overlooked. Instead, they're ones that, in their approach to have this inner stability and this inner peace of mind, they can oftentimes perceive other people, perceive the perspectives of other people, and understand them in a way that no other number really can. And they hold them all kind of in tension, um, creating a sense of peace, hopefully. It's a sense of, I'm trying to hold all of these webs all at once to make sure that there is this peace because I understand all of these different things and how they are interworked with one another. In your relationship with others, nines, it's important that you receive um, the feedback. For nines, it is uh, easy to check out of a situation, not because you are seeking out what is next, or you're afraid that you're going to miss out, like the sevens, but instead there is it is very easy for nines to kind of just like become a turtle and enter into their shell. If the person who is giving them the feedback, or the person seeking reconciliation, is doing it in what feels like a unhealthy way, or a way that may um, throw off this inner stability, it is easy to retreat. So it's important for nines in your relationship with others, as you're trying to reconcile, to receive this feedback. The second thing is to not run from conflict. We all know that conflict isn't necessarily a bad thing, but for nines, it is scary sometimes. This is both an external conflict with others, but this is also an internal conflict. And so for a lot of nines, it is easy to understand everyone else's perspectives while not being able to understand your own perspective, because to understand your own perspective, you have to deal with internal conflict, because you understand everyone else's perspective. And so don't shy away from that. Instead, lean into that conflict with others, allow it to happen, and then also allow it to happen within yourself, which will ultimately help you in your reconciliation with others as well. And the third thing is to acknowledge the suppression of anger. This is something, if we dove a little bit deeper into the Enneagram, one of the things we would talk about is different triads, which are groupings of three that kind of function in similar ways. One of the triads is the 8, 9s, and 1s. All function under a similar triad where they all have this expression of anger, that functions in a very different way with each one. With the Enneagram 9s, their anger is just suppressed and pushed down. And so it's very important when you are trying to reconcile with someone else that there is that suppressed anger that can bubble up. It can lead to this hyper tension in a situation. So being able to acknowledge that that is there is very important to helping the situation move forward. Not necessarily vocalizing out loud in every situation, but instead knowing that that's an underlying thing is very helpful. In the same way that Enneagram 8, it's important to recognize the underlying betrayal and what that thing causes. If you're in a relationship with a 9, it's important to hear their voice and hear their perspective. 9s are oftentimes overtalked, overlooked. They're just missed. They can hide in plain sight. Sometimes they're okay with that, but because they are able to perceive so many different perspectives and take them all in and kind of compute different, I don't know, algorithms of how it all works, machinations. Um, they oftentimes have a voice and a perspective that is very well thought out and very balanced in terms of the different perspectives. And so it's important to hear their voice and not just to speak over them. It's also important for them to not just be bossed around in reconciliation. Um, Nines will not fight for power because they don't like conflict. Um, and so if you just boss them around, you kind of just further repress some of that anger as opposed to helping them reconcile with the situation and trusting them and hearing their voice and their perspective. Um, the third thing here is just help them find their peace. Um, in a moment where reconciliation is needed, oftentimes there has been a sense of disequilibrium where the peace has been disrupted. It is important for after the fact of the resolution being done or the reconciliation to take place that it is helpful for others to try to see if they can help restore some of that peace, whether that is an internal or an external a piece nonetheless that needs to be restored, whether that is by the nines by themselves or that is at the help of someone else. It's a way that other people can step in and be helpful. Excuse me. And lastly, here for nines reconciling with themselves, um, it is helpful to remember that your presence does matter. Not just your presence, but your voice and your perspective matters. Um, if it doesn't, find a community where it does, because it's important that you speak out about things. It's important that you share your perspective and not just suppress those things, um, which is a natural tendency for nines. Secondly, get to know yourself. Nines spend so much time knowing everyone else's perspectives, trying to reconcile everything in their minds, trying to reconcile everyone else's perspectives, that you may overlook your own perspective. You may overlook yourself and not know who you are. Um, you may be so familiar with the way that everyone else looks that you may look in the mirror and be clueless about what you look like. So get to know yourself, take the time to do that, which will help you reconcile with yourself and understand yourself, but also helps you then reconcile with others as then you begin to know what you need and know how you can better advocate for yourself in relationships. And lastly, practice conflict in a safe space. Nines don't like conflict. It doesn't come naturally. It's not something that's easy. So creating that safe community, as I've talked about with a few different other numbers, where you can practice conflict, where you can say, "Hey, I'm going to say something that may lead to conflict, which makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm willing to enter into this because this is a trusted space." That's super, super helpful, and something that I think would be beneficial for nines, helping understand themselves, but also then also reconciling with others moving forward.